Hello, I'm Eric Snodgrass, and thank you for watching today's midday Western U.S. regional forecast video brought to you by Nutrien Ag Solutions. Well, watching sunup to sundown yesterday on our GOES visible satellite channel, we saw a few pieces as they move throughout the atmosphere that are going to be critical to our upcoming forecast. First of all, let's just start over on the eastern side here in the western U.S. We can see the southwestern monsoon is going quite well. We can also see quite a bit of thunderstorm activity in the Intermountain West, which is characteristic of this time of year. We can then also see, if you just skirt a little bit to the south there, Hurricane Douglas, a major hurricane that is moving toward Hawaii. More on that in just a few moments. But you can see the behavior in the North Pacific, and I want to focus in on that because there is a large low pressure system moving through the Aleutian Islands. Now, it's a bit distorted in its size because of the map projection, but to see these kind of storm systems this time of year tells me that the North Pacific jet stream is quite vigorous in its activity. First, let's come back to the tropics and take a look at what Douglas is doing. Still a major hurricane, it is moving toward the Hawaiian Islands and it is projected to get to the Hawaiian Islands by Sunday morning. Now, as the storm approaches, we will see some impressively large waves up against Hawaii and all the islands, and we will see a lot of folks probably out surfing these massive waves, but they're going to need to get in by the time we get here on Sunday because this particular system might be able to maintain minimal hurricane strength as it approaches the islands. The wind shear is less favorable over the islands, as is the ocean temperatures, which is why we anticipate this weakening, but this is a direct hit, at least forecast by the National Hurricane Center at this point, and we're going to watch it very carefully progress through the weekend. So if you're in Hawaii watching this, because technically you're in my western region, take awareness of this and make sure that you're prepared when this system does approach you over the weekend. All right, I do want to zoom in on the western U.S. here really quickly to show you a couple of features of importance. One, we can see a lot of the thunderstorms really popping on the mountains here, and many of these are producing a lot of lightning, but a lot of the rain isn't quite making it to the ground. One place where we wish we could get more thunderstorms getting that rainfall to the ground is right over in this area where we're currently watching a fire. You can see it just on the edge here of this circle I drew. And that particular fire there, we anticipate to continue again today and tomorrow. And if we could just get some of the thunderstorms that are just north of it to bring their rain over that area, this would be critical for helping the firefight in that area. So it's just that time of year where we have a lot of thunderstorm activity. Many of these thunderstorms are dry, which means their downdrafts don't get to the ground, or they get to the ground up in the mountains and not necessarily at the lower elevations. So taking a look here at our forecast of smoke, this is from the high resolution rapid refresh model looking at vertically integrated smoke, so how much smoke we've got in the atmosphere. We see that once again today and then again tomorrow, the smoke from the fires here in that kind of corner of California are anticipated to spread again, and we'll see it go all the way through parts of Nevada and Idaho as we progress through early next week. Now, right now, we have a couple of advisories out to be keeping a close eye on. There is a heat advisory that's over there on the coast of both, or on the border, of Northern California and Southern Oregon. But also, if you come up here, these shadings represent red flag warnings. And our concern is over how gusty the winds might be this weekend. So this map you're now looking at shows what's called accumulated maximum wind gust. So over the next 72 hours, what are the fastest winds we anticipate seeing? That's what we're looking at here. Northern California, we might see gusts well over 30 miles an hour. The Snake River Valley, same thing, gusts maybe up to 40. And in parts of the Columbia Basin, we could see wind gusts that are in the mid to upper 30s, possibly getting into the 40 mile an hour range. So with all the winds, we add to that the very dry air that's in place. You see each afternoon the humidity levels plummet down into the teens, maybe even the single digits across much of the western United States. And with the heat that comes on with that, it's certainly going to be something that gives us high evaporation rates, but with the wind that really increases those evaporation rates and gives us that risk for fire, which is why we have the red flag warning out for parts of the Columbia Basin. In terms of precipitation, over the next week, this is what the European model is currently painting, but it is not going to accurately be able to capture the thunderstorm activity that we will see in this corridor right in through here. And I expect daily storms to pop in that area. Just to kind of show you what it looks like, we can forecast those a lot of different ways, but the European model has an interesting product called lightning flash density. And so it shows us for this afternoon where we are anticipating those storms to pop, kind of on the mountains there in California, the Sierra Nevada, and then the northern ranges, areas, then moving across parts of Nevada into Idaho and Montana. That's where we're expecting storms. And if you notice down in the southwest, very active monsoon day again today. And if you saw in the previous image, we are anticipating the monsoon to continue to really remain active as we press now through the end of July and get into August. So some of the drier pockets down there in Arizona and New Mexico will be filling in hopefully very soon with more precipitation, because I don't see any reason to call for a slowdown in the monsoonal moisture right now. Okay, let's get some reasons as to why we're going to see this weather pattern evolve the way it's going to evolve. And today I'm taking everybody up here to the jet stream level, 300 millibar wind speeds. So what's color-coded is wind speeds. Now as we go forward with this, let's just see how things evolve through the weekend. You see, we have this trough in place to start off the weekend, hence the cooler weather. But as we play this forward, I noticed a couple of important features. One, we do have a pretty vigorous, for this time of year, subtropical jet stream. And there's a ridge that starts to build in over the weekend. And what we're going to end up seeing here at this point is that high over low pattern. So can you see it? There's the ridge and there's the trough. And so the high is here and the low is coming through this part of California. Now the good news about this is, remember that big system I showed you going through the Aleutian Islands? It's going to kick this forward. It's not going to let it set up and stay set up such that we just keep this big high over low pattern for a while. But this means major warm up into early next week for parts of the Northwest. Meanwhile, Monday afternoon and evening, this little shortwave right here that opens up, this is going to increase our storm chances into early next week. So we're going to watch this area for quite vigorous thunderstorm activity moving into next week. You see, as we move forward, it's gone. That high over low pattern shoots out and the ridge begins to establish itself here in the western, kind of the Intermountain West, right in through this area. Now, moving from there, this is now next Wednesday into Thursday. A pretty vigorous little shortwave comes through California again. So I'm expecting more storms in this area. And then notice by the time I get you out here to the 29th of July, this is next Wednesday, in the upper levels, a pretty deep trough. That was the storm system I showed you sitting over the Aleutian Islands. And as it comes here, out ahead of it, quite a bit of warmth, but we need to be seeing if this brings in increased precipitation chances for parts of Oregon and Washington's coast. But as it does so, could cool things back off here. But we notice that as we get all the way out to day 10, jet stream still retreats to the north and a big ridge starts to build in down here over Southern California. So this is in the upper levels of the atmosphere. We're going to watch it carefully, but this would mean seeing some above average temperatures in the west, and that's something I've struggled forecasting as of late. So seeing this all play out in our precipitation patterns, you're not going to get much from the European model. And the reason why is that the European and the GFS are too coarse of resolution models to pick up on this daily thunderstorm activity. So what do you end up getting? Well, as we go through Saturday morning, afternoon, and evening, you see I get these flashes of green that show up on the peaks here of the Sierra Nevada, or flashes of green in through this area. Let me show you a better case here as we get through the weekend. This is Sunday morning, afternoon, and evening. Now getting into Monday morning, afternoon, and evening. At this point, we're going to see a lot more of these flashes of green show up. Remember, that's when that first shortwave cuts through Northern California. Take a look at Tuesday afternoon and evening. There we go. That's the thunderstorm activity we are anticipating. And as you saw at the end of this low right here next Wednesday into Thursday is that deep upper level low that's moving through, but it kind of sits and spins off the coast and maybe just lashes the west coast here of Washington, Oregon with some shower activity. But overall, it's still relatively dry comparatively because that low kind of cuts back to the north as the jet stream retreats to the north. Now looking out into week 2, we just don't see too much deviation from normal for the west. The European model is still very favorable for the monsoonal flow coming down here into parts of Arizona and New Mexico. And you see the GFS is a bit drier. It's simply because the GFS, when averaged, has a much flatter wave in this area, whereas the European's got a much more amplified trough ridge pattern, and therefore it's more conducive to that monsoonal flow. But this is how things look compared to normal for the week of August 1st through August 7th. Now let's talk temperatures. I've been showing you these maps. I just want to keep you updated here. June 1st now through July 24th, we're looking at average temperature ranks by climate district. So where we have been quite cool for a while, we are going to be seeing the temperatures really ratchet up here in the next few days after this weekend. But it's been quite warm down in the south. west. In fact, we see several districts in parts of Arizona and New Mexico that are having their warmest such time period on record here. And so therefore, the heat has certainly been on in parts of California, and it's been on down in parts of Arizona and New Mexico. What are the temperatures doing? Well, today, remember, the color shading on this represents differences from normal, and the numbers represent the actual high temperatures. So as I play this forward, we can see that throughout the day today, a lot of mid to upper 90s in the Central Valley of California, but a cool day in the Northwest. As we go into Saturday, watch the temperatures really begin to change here. Hey, a cool day down here in Phoenix at 99 on Saturday. But as we move our way through the weekend, this is now getting into Sunday. Watch the warmth really barrel in here to the northwest. There it is. That's going to be the hot day there on Monday. So we're going to go from 80s to upper 90s and lower 100s. Same thing for parts of the Central Valley of California into early next week. But as we play this forward into Monday and Tuesday, remember, a lot of thunderstorm activity I'm anticipating in this area early next week. But Tuesday's another scorcher for the Columbia Basin. And we get this out to next Wednesday and Thursday before we start to see temperatures kind of recovering back toward normal for this time of year. So hot weather is certainly on its way for parts of the Northwest. Beyond that, with the ridge backing up in the day 5 through 10 time period, well, remember, there's that low that's sitting here, which is why we see the near average temperatures in the Northwest, but the ridge is still back in this area. So we see the above average temperatures here in day 5 through 10 and also in 10 through 15. Now, this is one area that I think I have really struggled with, and the models have really struggled with forecasting. You see, bringing in any sort of sense of sustained heat, while it has been advertised in the models, I've told you it's really failed to come into fruition. I'm talking about sustained well above average temperatures. It's been hot, don't get me wrong, in the Southwest and in parts of California, but to get it to stretch all the way up the West Coast, we haven't seen that. So now I got some brand new model updates for you for the time periods of August 7th through the 14th. That would be the week 3 forecast, and then August 14th through the 21st. So the week 3 stuff is over here. The week 4 is over here. What do we notice? Well, just take a look at the temperatures. That's the most critical piece here. We can see that the models are really going aggressively after warm temperatures once again for the western United States. So in the Northwest, this will be a pretty big deviation of what we've seen so far this year. But California, this is going to continue on with the warmer streak that we've had. In terms of the monsoonal activity, it looks like it's going to continue into August pretty clearly here in the models. And even though we're starting to see some drier conditions by mid-month, I don't anticipate this being a lackluster monsoon here. Still some holes to fill in parts of Arizona, but we're getting there. One last thing I want to point out to you. Some of the model changes that I'm seeing here are because the Madden-Julian Oscillation, which has been just lodged in place over Africa, is finally moving toward the Indian Ocean. And that is going to change a lot of our longer range forecasts for the month of August, and the models hadn't really picked up on that. That will change the behavior of La Nina. It could change the impact of the momentum and moisture transport out of the tropics and give us a whole different look as we progress now into the second half of summer. I'm going to watch it over the weekend, and I will report to you many times next week what I'm seeing evolve there. But I appreciate your attention this week. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you again soon. Thanks.